With the market as hot as it is today, many of you might be seeing back on market or BOM written in the description of the property you're looking at. Should you stay away from these properties? Why does it say that? Let's get to it. Hi, I'm Stacy Olson with the Valentini team at William Raves Real Estate. And on my channel, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about living on the Connecticut shoreline. When a property comes back on market, it doesn't always indicate a red flag. Sometimes it does, but not always. And this seems to be happening a lot more and more in our market today. So let's see why this is going on. So in Connecticut, after you have an offer that's accepted, you have 5 business days for attorney review. So the seller has their attorney and the buyer has their attorney. And each of those attorneys review this contract. And basically what they're doing is that they're looking out for the best interests of their clients. They want to make sure there's nothing weird written in that contract or anything that's a red flag to them that would indicate that this might not be a good deal for their client. So attorney review is usually on a standard contract. There's nothing strange going on. The process is quick and efficient for both sides, and everybody usually comes to agreement. But realistically, the attorney review is really a grace period. The buyer has these 5 days to really think about, do they want to buy this property? And what's been happening a lot lately is what we call buyer's remorse. Yes, it's really happening, and it's happening a lot. What is buyer's remorse? Well, in the market we have today, it's such a frenzy with properties. People are desperate to get homes. They may have already been looking for months and months and lost bids on other homes. So what they wind up doing is they get caught up in that frenzy and they find a property and they just keep bidding higher and higher and higher because they want their offer to be the top offer and stand out. But once they cool off, they have a couple days to think about it, they crunch the numbers, they might realize like, whoa, either we really can't or shouldn't afford this house, or this house isn't worth what we're willing to pay for it. So at the end of the day, they decide they don't want to move forward with the contract, and the contract is canceled. So the seller has to put the house back on the market, and the buyer walks away without really losing anything. Probably the most significant reason why things are back on market today is that the buyer couldn't secure the financing. Yeah, that's right. They may have gone through and even gotten a pre-approval already for that amount, and then they can't get the mortgage. So when you're actually putting in an offer, you typically put in a mortgage contingency. Unless you're paying all cash and you don't need a mortgage, you put in a mortgage contingency that says you have 30 to 60 days to secure that financing to purchase that home. But what happens sometimes is even when people have a pre-approval, they could unfortunately lose their job, or they might have some huge unexpected expense that pops up, like a medical expense. Or maybe when they got the pre-approval, the lender didn't realize they had some strange financial things going on in their history, and they're not willing to put out that mortgage for them. So today I would say that's probably the biggest back on market reason that we're dealing with. So one of the things that could be a red flag for a reason a property's back on market is inspections. So we always recommend that our buyers include an inspection contingency in their offers. It really protects them because it tells the sellers that, hey, we're willing to buy this property, but not until we have a professional come in and look around and see what's really wrong with it. So let's say you get an inspection done and you find out there's some huge expenses that have to be dealt with, like a new septic system for $30,000, a new roof for $20,000, whatever it might be. You might have a much lower threshold for what you're willing to pay for. Normally what happens is that you go back and you negotiate with the seller, and either they will lower the price of the property or they'll give you some type of concession at closing that basically covers the price or whatever you negotiate with them. But sometimes they are unwilling to do that. And when that happens, the buyer has the right to walk away. So the appraisal could be a reason why something is back on the market as well. So once you start working through your contract and your lender is processing your mortgage and figuring out all the details, they order an appraisal on the property. Basically, the lender wants to make sure that property is actually worth what you're paying for it. And with the way the market is today, prices are escalating so quickly. Like something that was worth $400,000 2 weeks ago might be worth $425,000 now. It's crazy how fast the numbers are changing. And what happens sometimes is the appraisal comes back lower than the price that was agreed upon. So when the appraisal comes in lower, typically what happens is, again, you go back to the seller and you want to negotiate. Are they willing to lower the price of the home to get to the appraisal amount? Or do you want to negotiate with them where you either pay the difference in cash at the close, or maybe you meet halfway, whatever you wind up doing? The point is that sometimes you can't come to an agreement. Either the seller isn't willing to budge on the price, or the buyer isn't willing to cough up the extra money. Either way, both parties can cancel the contract at this point. And one other reason why something might be back on market is title issues. I know this one can be a little more scary. So when you are doing an offer, again, your attorney, as part of their process, will do a title search on the property. So what does this mean? They're basically making sure that there's been consistency in ownership, that they can trace back who's owned it when. There's no liens on the property, so like a tax lien for back taxes that are owed. So your attorney will be doing all of this behind the scenes for you. But again, sometimes they find things that aren't so nice, like a huge tax lien or something like that. And as a buyer, if you agree to purchase that property with that lien on it, it becomes your responsibility, not the seller who owned it before you. So a lot of people don't want to take that on as an extra expense. Typically what happens is that you would notify the sellers of these issues and basically say, you need to clean these up before I'm going to purchase that home. But again, sometimes they are unwilling to do that. So at the end of the day, your agent should be finding out why something is back on market. They'll reach out to the seller's agent to see what really happened. And if it's something like the buyer's financing fell through, that's a lot less scary than they failed an inspection and they need a new septic system. So it's really up to the buyer if they want to proceed with that property. So don't let a back on market scare you away. If you're living in Connecticut and you're looking for a great place to live, check out Milford. There's plenty of great homes and lots to do there.